Hello viewers, today we're going to be attempting to revive this NS Industrial Fans branded fan. I'm not familiar with that brand. I believe this is overall one of those SMC or Medea manufactured high velocity fans. These can be found under a handful of different names, including Dayton. And I mentioned Dayton because the question came up recently, did Dayton actually make anything? Or was it just a name? Because a lot of Dayton products seem, in my opinion, seem to be kind of derivatives of Lasco or Air King or Vernco or whatever. Like they just seem like they're all the same to me. I don't know if that's true or not. Dayton definitely relabeled a lot of stuff. If Dayton manufactured anything itself, I don't know. But this does not run. The bearings are locked. And this is in pretty bad shape. It's got a lot of surface rust. I don't think there's anything rusted really to the point of degradation of the integrity of the unit, but it's definitely very rusted. There's a wire tie over here. Take that off and use that for something else. The motor doesn't look too bad. The shaft looks fairly clean. Actually, the shaft, it's kind of weird. It looks like the shaft has gone backward at some point and pushed all the hair back. It's kind of weird. Or maybe it was cleaned off in an attempt to try to make it run again. Who knows? Probably never know. But I'm very curious as to whether or not this is a good fan. I'd be willing to bet that it is. I bet this is a pretty decent product. I don't know how badly the bearings are locked up, if just a couple of drops of oil will fix it, or if we need to do something more extreme. It's dated 1206 according to the UL, and then it says 307 on a tag below it. So I'd suspect this was sold in the summer of 2007, and does not have a, oh here it is up here, 1.7 amps, 200 watts. Now this motor still exists today. You can buy the, under the iLiving brand, maybe there's more, but I know under the iLiving brand, it's called the iLiving Turbo Fan. It's 255 watts, and it's one of the better high velocity fans you can buy today, but it kind of uses that same motor. It's interesting to see that motor having been under production for so many years, just in differing sizes in terms of power consumption. These screws are all pretty rusty, but it looks like they're going to come out okay. They're very small screws for such a large fan. Actually looks pretty good inside. Blade's not really rusted at all. Just the guard. The plug has been replaced, which is kind of interesting. It seemed like it was owned by someone who should know better to just oil it. Interesting hub, it's like screwed on. Well, that's not too bad. I bet it'll free up with just a couple drops of oil. Of course, we'll have to go back and do a much more thorough service before this is used regularly, but we'll be able to get it to run just for a test. I'm almost out of my original bottle of Zoom Spout. This has lasted quite a few years. Can't even remember when I bought it. It's not getting any better. Maybe it's the rear bearing that needs oil. Unfortunately, there's no port, so we're going to have to oh, nope, hold on. It's coming. It almost kind of feels like the shaft is bent. It's binding up only at one spot, which is kind of weird. We're about to leak oil every... we're leaking oil. I gotta get a ticker towel. The back bearing sounds very dry. I'm really not sure I want to run it like that before we well, we'll just give it a really quick test. If I'm going to go that deep into the motor, I want to spend the time to do a full clean and service on it, and I don't have that kind of time tonight. I think this is going to end up being a pretty good fan. Products were definitely getting cheap once you move into the 2000s era, but there were some stragglers in terms of decent quality that lasted into the 2000s. Once you get past the 2000s, there's not much going, but In the 2000s, select stuff was satisfactory. Screws are so small, they're going to be a bit of a pain to work with. Let's see if we can use this. Yes, this is working much better. That one's totally stripped out. I should replace these with a nut and bolt configuration. These screws are, I can tell they're made of really cheap soft metal. That one's stripped as well. And this thing is not high powered. It should not be stripping screws. Alright, I think it'll run now. We'll run it very briefly. I mean, like, just probably not even a minute. I just want to see how it operates at full power. I'll plug the meter in just so we can get an amps on it. I'm not going to go through all the ratings and all the speed. I don't want to run it even that long. It's not that stiff. This one's a really weak motor. Or it's messed up. I guess we're going to have to go through and open it up in order to test it. That's fine. This is having a problem with the switch. It's not out of charge. What's up with that? This has been a great screwdriver. I've had this for a very long time. Done many projects with this. Now, since we can't run the motor, I don't want to pull the front bearing off. Oh, that did lock up pretty good again. It's very concerning to me how it frees up and then it locks again. I really feel like the shaft is bent. Or there's some kind of other failure with this. I want to see if we can Can we take the motor apart without removing it from the... No, I think we have to remove it from the stand. I gotta get a nut driver that's in the garage. Nope, they're not in the garage, they're right here. The So what I'm going to try to do is pull the front shell off with the shaft and just take it off as one piece. Leave the blade on. Once we get the blade to run, or once we get the motor to run, and I can spin the shaft up, I'll sand it, clean it, and then we can take, we can do a proper clean and service to the bearings. Let's see if this wants to come apart easily. It probably doesn't, but sometimes you get lucky with these things. No, that's not coming. Okay. Got it. As expected, the motor is totally dry in the back. It's got like a little circular ball, as if there's non-circular balls, on the back, so if the van was tilted facing up, it wouldn't just wear out the bushing. That's kind of a neat design. So this, it does have, it feels like the issue is here on the back, and yeah, it's got some kind of a problem. Looks like rust accumulated on there. We're gonna have to get that off. It's not gonna run with all that rust on there. Let's see if I can see what the bearings condition is. Bearing looks okay. A little bit of scoring on the front. It's a good thing we didn't run this. I think we got it in time. I should have learned my lesson last time with that crazy dehumidifier motor, that you don't run things when they're not right. Okay. So we gotta do something about this rust on the shaft. Got some sanding paper here. It's annoying that this will not pull through. Don't know why it's like that. Oh, there it goes. So let's see. Problem is the problem is definitely within the back. Perfectly good on the front. It's kind of rare for it to coast that free with only one of the bearings in place. Let's see, is it severely out of balance or what? Maybe not too bad. Alright, so the problem here is we've got rust on the shaft here. Or it's just like super hardened oil. I can't really tell. Either way, we're going to try to get it off of there as much as we can. I might have to put this into the lathe and turn this in order to really clean this up good. Yeah, that actually might be oil. It's coming off pretty quick. Yeah, I bet that's just really hardened oil. Yeah, that definitely is oil, not rust. So I'll try a little bit of this here. See if we can clean it off. Alright, that's pretty good. That's good enough for the test. When we do a full service on this, I will go ahead and run this shaft through the lathe and I'll polish it up real good. I'll turn it and clean it with a fine sandpaper. Alright, let's stick this back through. Actually, first I'm going to drop some oil in the back here. Well, we have a problem. There's two pieces back there that are no longer aligned properly. There we go. This is totally dry. This has not seen oil in a long time. Probably, if ever. Just put a little bit around the wick to kind of prime it, if you will, and then when we go and do it later on, it should be absorbing the oil pretty good. Yeah, that wick is totally dry. No oil in there at all. Lack of maintenance that this failed. That's all it is. It's a complete lack of maintenance. Does it matter which way this goes on? It might. I don't think so. How the heck did I get this off? There we go. It's like 1/8 of an inch too large to go through. It came out real easy, yet. What am I missing here? Ah, that's what I was missing. That little notch. Shit. That little notch that lets it go through. That's kind of interesting. The fact that this will not stand upright is making this a challenge to work on. I don't know if the little piece in the back is lined up right or not on the rear shaft, because I can't see it. If the blade wasn't in the way, I'd be able to see it better. It feels just as bad as it did before. It might just need an alignment, but it doesn't feel like just stiff bearings. It feels like it's not riding on the bearings properly. I don't know. Let's see. Won't be able to tell until we get it back together. This design isn't too bad. You do have to keep in mind that this would be so much easier to work on if the blade was off. The majority of what's making this difficult is the blade being in the way. Oh man, this is so stiff right now. I feel like something else is wrong with it. I'm going to tighten all these up here and let's see, oh man, what we get in terms of alignment. It just feels to me like something else. Wow, yeah, I think something else is wrong here. I have no idea what at this point, but this is 10 times worse than it was before. It's worse. It's way worse than it was before. I can barely even turn this. There's no way this is going to run. That's weird. I thought this was going to be just a routine locked up bearings, but there's something very wrong with this motor, which is not apparent on the surface. I really think that we might have a bent shaft because it's still way too stiff to operate, but it's turnable here, and then as we approach this area, it's totally locked, and then it kind of frees up a little bit, and then it's totally locked again. So something odd is going on with this motor, and it's exceeding what I have time for today. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 on this one. We'll take the shaft apart, we'll pull the shaft out completely, take the blade off. I'll sand with very fine sandpaper the entire shaft on the lathe, clean out the bearings, re-oil, and try again. I have a hunch that it might have something to do with the pieces that were in the back. I don't think I got a good picture of it, but in the back bearing there was like 2 metal plates all the way in the back, which I believe that ball is supposed to rest on, and I have a feeling that maybe those are not lined up properly, and so perhaps that's what the issue is. I don't know, it's the only thing I can think of that would be out of the ordinary here. So I'll just put the rest of these screws back for now, and we're gonna have to revisit this and figure out what on earth is going on here. It's gonna be an interesting one. Definitely not a typical dry bearing case, which is kind of rare. I mean, that's usually what it is, but not this time. We got something more challenging this time. I think we can tighten up this tilt mechanism and make this a little bit less annoying to work on. I'm sure that rubber has lost some of its strength over the years. I think I am definitely going to replace these screws with something better, because it's just a matter of time before all 6 of them end up stripped. We're already halfway there. Well, that's a little disappointing because I wanted to see this run today, but it'll just be an interesting challenge for some other day.